Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pursuit of Happiness. I'm your podcast host, Naz Kazimi. Pursuers, I've missed you, and I know it's been so long since I've been recording. My bad. So last time I recorded, I thought that I had my podcast equipment nailed down, that I knew exactly what I was doing. Boy, was I wrong. When I played it back after like an hour and a half of recording, I realized that it echoed a little bit. I put in the audio one into the wrong, place, a section, hole, you want to say, whatever. And so it wasn't picking up the audio. It was just I was recording into my iPhone, so it was the iPhone's audio that was picking it up. That's why it was echoey. But this time around, I figured it all out. I know how to use it perfectly. I have put it now inside into my MacBook. It just works a lot better this way. It's so good. I'm so glad I have my audio equipment. It's going to sound so much more studio-like. I have all these sound effects that I could use as well, but obviously I won't because it's just a bit corny. We don't need to use the sound effects. So I did put out the episode that the audio was kind of wishy-washy, although it was still good, but just not the audio that I was hoping for. But here we are. I finally have it all fixed and here and together. So I'm on the mic now. I'm going to try to make the volume a little bit lower because I do talk a bit loud and I talk pretty close. So it won't pick up all the little ASMR sounds there. But let's get into it because we have so much to recap. I've just been off for a couple of weeks. As I said, I had my family over for a bit. So trying to just kind of, I'm getting over the nostalgia of that. It was so nice to have them. Nice but bad at the same time. So I'm still kind of recovering from, I'm ADHD. And for me, like, feelings come in like big amounts. And I have to sort of like, I just wish it could be normal. Like I could just go on with like my life the next day, but it's like it takes me a long time to like come down, I guess you could say, right? So I'm just kind of dealing with that, not to mention the whole ADHD of it all. So, anyways, let's get into Real Housewives of Potomac, okay? We're going to do season 10. I'm going to do episode 12 and 13, both of them recaps, okay? We'll start with episode 12. The episode begins with the continuation of the conversation with Angel. Evicted means being thrown out, expelled with force, but that's definitely not what Angel's situation is. I did look up the definition of eviction. Her time was up for whatever reason, whether that's what it was or some other reason we don't know of just as of yet as an audience. But I don't think that her circumstances outline what it means to be evicted. Evicted is by force. Like you have not paid your rent, your landlord comes in with like the proper tools from like the whatever. We have a tenancy branch back home in Vancouver. They come home with all that information. You're given like just a few days or month, maybe even, to go out. If not, then you have the sheriff's office coming, which is kind of like the police, and they literally will take your stuff out and put it in a storage, and then you have to go back and grab it from the storage. That's eviction. This is just like, they agreed up until a certain point. Unfortunately, they couldn't extend it. Just like Airbnbs. I've been to Airbnbs where I loved it so much. And I was like, I wish that we could stay here an extra day. And then I contact the Airbnb host, and they're like, unfortunately, it's booked. We're sorry. Same kind of thing. It's not an eviction. And then you realize, dang, we really got to get out of here quick. Like, we can't rely on the fact that we can stay here for another night, right? So that's what it was. It was obvious that it was that. I don't know why the other ladies kind of want to make it more. Maybe just to make it entertaining. But it's just so annoying for me. Like, they picked the really wrong minuscule things to make a big point out of it. It's always the three miserable ladies. It's I call them the miserable trio. Like they're the hating trio. It's Ashley, Gizelle, and Wendy. Like, get a life. Like, if you guys have really other engaging and exciting things going on, like, why are we always so focused on other people's things? Other people's lives. Anyways, with that being said, Jackson, who's Sharice's son, shows up. He's 27. He's kind of cute, And then Ashley admits at that point that she had admitted to Sharice that she had a smooch with Jackson one night after a party. I believe it was last season. Like, Ashley's mittens are all over the place. I love how Sharice kind of just took it on the shoulder. Like, she's like, whatever. Like, he's a big kid. He knows what to do. He knows how to handle himself. I'm not really worried. Then it shows that they're, I forgot what it's called. Something at Pony's party. The parents are racing with the kids. That's cute. Stacey had Sutton's legs. I'm sorry, not sorry, but if you guys watch Sutton from Real Housewives of or Beverly Hills, the Stacey body and the Sutton body are so similar. It's so funny. Wendy's daughter is asking if the American flag dish is the Donald Trump flag. Now, how come Professor won't teach her daughter that their own national flag, consider they're proud Americans? Like, she's not teaching her what this is because her daughter literally said that's the Donald Trump flag. And Stacey did not know what to say. Like, she didn't want to interject. She didn't want to say anything bad. She's on camera. Who knows what they're going to use? And then people see, and now she's this person or that person or on this side or on that side. But it's just so funny that the person on the show who thinks that she's the most educated, and she might as well, she could be, you know, but her daughter is saying that it's a Donald Trump flag. So you obviously know the conversations that are going on in their home, you know? Interesting. It's really interesting how kids can give you a little bit of insight about what's going on, and it really breaks down the walls of how you see the parents, you know? And Stacey was with Themo in the gym. Now, so this is now past the party, okay? The party's done. It kind of ended on kind of a weird foot. And I think the part of the foot that it ended on was that everyone was coming for Angel, and Angel kept saying, like, no, I wasn't evicted, etc., etc. And the party kind of winded down. Everyone kind of, you know, went their own separate ways. And the next scene that you see is she's with Themo in the gym. Now, just because you're a yogi doesn't mean that you strength train. Strength training is so important as you get older. And if you guys know anything about my own personal brand, if you see it on YouTube or anything like that, I'm all about the strength training in the gym. And I'm also about, like, just being honest. Like, there are times where you kind of fall off the wagon, but it's all about how to get back up and keep going, you know? But if there's anything that's more important, stretching is important. And if you want to consider being a yogi as part of being stretching, sure. But stretching doesn't necessarily have to follow a routine. You just got to stretch. Anyways, that's a conversation for another day. But I love how she's trying to, like, get Timo to, like, you know, think of it as, like, sexy time. And he's like, nope, I'm getting my workout in, thanks. Just kind of awkward. Now, then you see Wendy calling her dad. And it's sweet to see because Wendy's father's generation, I find it so hard for them to express how they feel. Because they don't like to feel. Because if it makes it true, then they don't want to feel it. Or they don't want to know that it happened. Or they don't want to kind of have it bothering them for a long time. It's hard to explain. I kind of understand because I'm like the next generation. I'm the in-between generation. Not necessarily Gen Z where they literally talk about everything, but also not necessarily my parents' generation where they kind of avoid everything, right? I do see my dad in that generation, and accountability is such a hard thing. Like, it's almost like they do take it, but without, like, they don't say it the way that we need to hear it. They say it in their own way. And sometimes in their own way is just the best that we can get, and we just have to live with that and just kind of move on. Because I think as we get older, we realize that our parents are just normal human beings that have made mistakes as well. We kind of want them to... It's like a two-way street. Like, we want them to understand where we're coming from, but at the same time, we don't want to understand where they're coming from, then that's where it's wrong. Like, we need to understand that with all the tools that they've been given, even leading up to this point, to our age and where we are right now in life, like, this is the best that they can do. And I think that as long as... now, with that being said, some parents are not necessarily that way. Like, they have different ways of expressing, and maybe they're not even taking accountability, but if you can see it in your parents that they're doing the best that they can, I think that we just have to take that. And, like, we can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like, at their age, we can't teach them a whole set of new rules just because it matches up to how we feel and how it's going to make us feel, you know? That's also called being selfish. Like, if that's the way you're acting, like, you're no better than your parent, you know? But I think just accepting kind of how they've been raised and grown up, and that they're doing the best that they can is really the best that we can get out of them, right? It seems like he was able to provide her some accountability, but, like, not in the words that necessarily, like, she's used to, being a doctor or a professor or whatnot. But it seems like she's content enough to move forward, and then that's all that really matters, you know? Like, she's ready to keep this train kind of moving and to get to a place that's better for all of them. You have the next scene with Tia having a conversation with her sister Amiria, which was really heartwarming. You really feel the warmth of the death once it hits you. And I think that's another thing that kind of goes back into Wendy's situation. Not that Wendy's father has passed or anything, but it's so incredible to see that when people are still here on Earth, you could say so many things, and you know that one day it's going to happen, but I think that it's just part of death. Like, you don't really understand the depth of death until it actually hits you, and, like, you're really never going to see this person again. And I think it's just human nature, because it's not just me or other people that I've heard it from. It's everybody. You really feel. Like, you can change a lot while you're here or while everyone's around each other physically on Earth. But yet, when someone passes, you feel like you always could have done more, you know? And I always try to bring that back to when I'm still here on Earth, obviously. I'm like, what can I do that's different or whatever? But if we take too much time to really like cater to someone that, you know, might be older or passing, of course it's situation dependent, like some people are caretakers and whatnot, but if you slow down your life just to cater to someone that's older and passing, you don't know how that's going to affect your life. Like, when you get older now, have you let certain goals and dreams go because you wanted to cater to someone and make sure that you were there for them at all times? Like, which regret is worse is pretty much what I'm trying to say. Like, is the regret of not really chasing your dreams and being with that person worse? Because then once that person is gone, now you have nothing, and you can look back and be like, well, I had this, but would it have hurt if I, you know, spent a little bit of time away and followed my dreams? Vice versa. You follow your dreams, you follow your passion. This person ends up passing, and you're like, would it have really hurt if I just spent a little bit more time with that person? Like, are you ever going to be satisfied, you know, with the amount of work that you put into whichever side of the spectrum that you're on, really? And it's like, you don't know, and that's, I think, part of life, and that's the part of life that's a little bit more icky, you know, like it's hard to think about those type of things. And sometimes when you look at these situations from afar, you're only doing the best that you can with what you know, you know? And I think that's really all that we can do in the moment, but then it always switches once there's that death. Then you're like, I could have done more, It's like, where's that line? Like, where do we just stop beating ourselves up and just be okay with what we've done? I don't think it really exists, to be honest. I think there's always that, like, could have done more, should have done more type of mentality when it comes to something so profound as death, you know? Unfortunately, death is forever, so the lesson here is just do the best that you can with the people while they're alive, and that's kind of what I got. And that was the notes that I actually took for that conversation that Tia had with her sister, her half-sister, I should say. It was really sad for me to see that her dad really wanted them to get along and to have, like, pictures together and to spend time together while he was still alive. Of course, that doesn't happen. It's only until he passes that they finally realize that they should have done this. But that's exactly what I was talking about. Like, where's the line where you're like, you know what? Let's just not make this about us anymore, and just, you know, because he's getting older, let's just do this for him, etc., etc. But they didn't. And essentially now that they're together, they're upset over the fact that he's the one that wanted to see this, and he will never get a chance to see it, you know? Anyways, Wendy's mom and her sister Ivy head over to Wendy's to check out her new place after the renovation. Wendy's mom likes to bring up how much money they spent on the renos. She spoke way too soon because, as you can see in the news, Wendy's everywhere with poor Eddie for the amount of money that they've spent on their renovations. Not just that, but, like, where the money's come from, all the jewelry that they had. Like, it's just, to be honest, as I look at the episodes, I don't really pay attention to stuff like that. I pay more attention to what's being said, but I'm not looking in the background at the gold and the jewelry, because she's all over the news here for some insurance fraud. I think they had insurance, and allegedly, again, don't quote me on this, I'm not the best with some of this, the news and the gossip. I don't really keep up as much, especially when they're not really my favorite housewife. But allegedly, they had some stuff stolen, or they told an insurance company, we had this much stolen. And then they went to another insurance company and they made the same claim. But that's illegal. Like, you can only make one claim to one insurance company. You can't go to every single insurance company that you have and start making claims, expect to get money back. Again, allegedly, something along those lines. And then they had claimed that they were broken into their area where they live. And some neighbors had contacted other podcasters that also do Housewives podcasts, and they were like, we know that it was them that did it because this neighborhood has never had a break-in in like the hundreds of years that we've lived here. So how funny is it that they had cameras and all these things set up, but no one saw anything, and they're the only house that got broken into? So, you know, that, when Wendy's mom made that comment, that like struck a chord with me. I was like, that's so funny that that's being said at this moment, because now everyone's looking back at this season with like a hawk eye, trying to figure out where all her jewelry is, what she's wearing, what she's spending money on. And then Wendy's mom to make that comment, like even she's unaware of how do you have all this money to make all these renovations, was kind of like an eye opener, you know? Wendy says that her mom directs her energy that's meant for her father. So, and the reason that she says this is because every time Wendy brings up that she wants to be involved with her dad, Wendy's mom gets angry at Wendy. And Wendy says that this anger is supposed to be directed to her dad, not to her. But because her dad's not there, Wendy's mom just directs it to her. I feel like Wendy is so respectful to her family. Like, if you watch the scene, you see that she does not raise her voice to her mom or her sister. She literally takes the beating. And like in turn, she's doing exactly what she says her mom does. She takes that energy and she redirects it to her friend group. Like she shits on them, she calls them out for things that have nothing to do with relevance of anything. It's because it's just like that theory that when kids are abused at home, they come out of that house and now they're bullies to other people because they have all this pent up anger. I feel like this is the situation with Wendy. She takes all this abuse, whether it be verbal or emotional or whatever it is at home, from her family, and she can't talk back. She has so much respect for them, but she comes back and she takes it back to the friend group, and that's where she feels like she can be like the boss, because clearly in her house she's not the boss. Who's the boss? Wendy's mom is clearly the boss. Okay, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, really. But Wendy's mom keeps calling her out, and that was honestly pure gold. It's like what the audience, especially the ones that are not necessarily like in favor of Wendy, like, we just wish that some of the cast would do this to her, but Wendy's mom doing it to her was just amazing. Calling her, "Are you? How's your attention-seeking disorder doing?" And like, "Fuck you, Wendy!" like it was just, I was like, but and what's even more shocking is Wendy, and we know how Wendy is, how she just kind of takes it. You're just like, wow, like, where's this energy when you're with the group? Like, where the group wants to say something to you and you just don't shut the frick up and listen. Like, instead you always have a comeback, you always have something to say, you always have to put in the last word. But when it comes to her, like her mom, she just can't say anything. Well, of course she respects her mom. If her mom doesn't like be there for her, like who else is? You know, her mom and her sister. But like, I wish that she would kind of have that energy with the rest of the group, because sometimes, not taking, and by no means do I mean like take all the BS and be a punching bag for people, but sometimes when you can just hear out what people are saying, it just kind of makes you understand a little bit better about where they're coming from. And I think that she rarely does that with the rest of the group. But that's the Wendy that I wish that we would see a lot more, being a little bit more soft and vulnerable. Again, not being a punching bag, but allowing for other people to kind of have their moment, and her not always being the center of attention. I think her mom called her out perfectly. Who knows Wendy better than her mom? So for her mom to say, "Are you happy now with your attention-seeking disorder?" I mean, I don't think that it's a lie. I think that she called it out exactly as how we see it. Okay? Now, we're moving on to episode 13. It shows that Tia was granted permission by the current homeowner to visit the home that she grew up in with her father. Now, I've done the same. I grew up in Red Deer, Alberta, in Canada. Now, I've gone back when my daughter was younger, and I've gone and visited. Surprisingly, I remembered every single house that I lived at. So I went and I took photos from the outside, but obviously never gone back to the inside. But I've also gone there. There's just some nostalgia. It just, I don't know, brings me back to those times, that memory of where I used to live and how I grew up. And that nostalgia, like when you're outside and you're just looking at it, it just brings you back to the time. Like if I close my eyes for a split second, I just remembered, like, I can hear us playing outside again and just running around. It was very nice to be able to go and be there. And I hope that when my daughter's a little bit older, I mean, she's older now, but we get a chance to go, because she was way too young then. She won't remember anything. She was barely a year old. So I know how powerful that is. And sometimes when there's trauma in those places, not that there was trauma much in my homes, but I know that, for example, high school or just places where I would fight with some of my friends, if I go back and I revisit those places later on, that feeling of like not like wanting to be towards that, be in that area, or the energy that was always accompanying it kind of disappears. So sometimes when people do this, like they go back and they visit the place, I understand why it's for, because it's just so powerful to go back and kind of reset your brain or your imagination or your thinking to a place that where it once was really, really good. You know what I mean? And it's just so, like, I don't mean to get too deep now, but time is so freaking amazing because it just keeps going. But you can have these moments where you go back to places that you've once visited and it kind of takes you back in time. And I find those type of things to be so powerful. You know, I don't know. I don't know if everyone else experiences it the same as I do or feels it in their mind the same way that I do. But that nostalgia, like even the other day I woke up and I went for a walk with my daughter and I was like, the air and there's the energy is giving me when I was growing up in Alberta. Like, I don't know why, I just felt like I was back in that time, you know, and then there's the space that I was in. Like, it made me feel like I was back, like, in the early 90s, you know, back in Red Deer, Alberta. And I don't know, I don't know why I felt that way. I don't know what happened, what coma did I wake up from. But it gave me this kind of feeling. And I don't know what it was that triggered it. It could have been the weather, along with the way that the street that we were walking down looked. It was a brand new street. We haven't really walked down that street in a while or ever. But just everything coupled up, like how I had kind of had the no energy and I was just kind of in my head for a little bit and walking down the street that kind of resembled old Red Deer or especially where we used to live, and the smell and the way the sky looked and the way the weather felt, like all just kind of brought me back to that one time when I was growing up, you know, and I would go for walks with my mom and my brother when he was still in like a stroller. So yeah, it's just visiting places that were profound in childhood just really do have a nostalgic sort of I don't know, it just brings something back that you can't ever really imagine, you know. It's the only thing that can bring you back to that place, really, is when you go visit these places that you used to once be. Then you see that Gizelle, Ashley, and Wendy meet up again. The grumpy trio, the hating trio, like these. I don't know why. Like, I think that it's like, okay, I'm not trying to sound like the two T's in a pod, but I think production does this on purpose because, like, every time they're together, they get invited to something. So last time they were together, Angel invited them to something. This time they're together, they get an invitation from Monique, and she's inviting them to her sip and read. But they're just the most crankiest, like, mean girl type of energy. Like, grow up. Like, you guys are not Potomac. If it was just the three of you, Potomac would not happen. So, like, get over that, you know? Like, and they're always the ones that are complaining and looking for the worst and everything. Like, they're not good energy at all, especially when they're together. We get into now the next scene where it's at Monique's sip and read. And, the talk. Oh, sorry, no. We're still here with Gizelle, Ashley, and Wendy. Okay, so Monique invites the ladies to the sip and read, and like I said, it's funny how every time they're together, they're invited to something. This has to be a production thing. You killed three birds with one stone. The talk turns to Angel and how she's a wet blanket and quote unquote wet blanket, and how she said that she wanted to get close to the ladies, but nothing has ever happened yet that has shown that she really wants to get close to the ladies. So that just goes to prove what I've said before, many episodes before, that these three women, okay, that are Gizelle, Ashley, and Wendy, they think that whenever someone new comes into the group, that person has to chase these three down and make them like, hey, I want to be your guys' friend, and kiss their butts and all the, you know, because they're like, well, we've been here the longest, you have to get in with us three. And if you don't get in with us three, we're going to make up every lie, rumor, everything under the sun to make sure that you realize that we're the top three, you know? Like, it's just so mean girl energy. So them saying that she's a wet blanket, she said that she wanted to get close to us, but nothing has happened. She hasn't done anything. Okay, why would someone want to get close to you after everything every little move that she makes, she's being shot on? What kind of person would feel safe to come to you guys now after all of this, like, and be like, oh yeah, no, these three are the ones that I want to get close to. It's these three. Like, come on now, you know? In my opinion, they just haven't allowed her to be safe so she can express what she wants to. And to be honest, out of all there's like, 8 girls on the cast, those are the last 3 that she'd want to be close to because of everything that they've done to her so far, you know? I'm still Team Angel. Again, I know that production is very picky about the cast and their living situation. I'm pretty sure that I just heard it on Salt Lake City. I don't remember how this came up, but they said that production is really picky. They will not allow people to be in Airbnbs and film. Like, you either have to be, I don't know what it is, but it came up, again, my memory might not be serving me right, but they had said that you cannot be in an Airbnb and film. It doesn't happen. You have to either live there or something along those lines. So production, knowing that Angel's in an Airbnb was still allowing her to film, doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Like, you sign contracts. Like, she's not supposed to be doing that. So they would know, and they would not allow her to do that, or they would not allow her to film at all for the show. So I don't know where Gizelle, who thinks that she knows everything, I'm part of production, I make the show myself, like, thinks that she's coming off repeatedly saying this. And the thing is, like, they're the ones that say that once we ask you a question and you answer it, like, that's it. Okay? Like, they're so gung-ho about, I'm pretty sure Wendy with her situation too. Hey, you asked me and I give you an answer, and that should be suffice, right? But how come when it comes to Angel, they don't believe what Angel herself says out of her mouth, and they can still make up stories and make it as if that's the truth, and what Angel's saying is not the truth? They don't even know Angel. They don't even live in her life, but what they're saying is the truth, and what Angel's saying is not the truth. It just makes no sense. Okay? Next scene is out. This shows the scene where Ashley's uncle is turning 60 and her son Dean is turning 6. So 6 to 60 party. It's cute. Dean is so much older now and he's so cute. He's going to be such a ladies man when he gets older. It's crazy because he looks so much like Ashley and Ashley's mom, to be honest, but at the same time so much like his dad. It's quite hilarious. They bring up the fact that Ashley's mom's partner John has gone to treatment finally, which is great news. After 23 years of Ashley knowing him, this is the first time that he's gone to treatment, and this is so powerful because it's, again, a motto in my personal brand that you're never too old and it's never too late for anything, including treatment. So they end that scene with Ashley and Ashley's uncle saying that I hope that he knows that we love him and that, this is kind of what we wanted for him for a long time now. And that's kind of good to see people, It's always that first step. Sometimes it doesn't always stick the first time around, but at least like he's out there and he's getting more seeds planted in his head that can serve him better at a later time. If this is not this rodeo that he goes down is not going to be the first, at least he's made that first step, and that's all that really counts. Then we get to Monique's Sip and Read, which is about her book that she's published. I think it's love letters to versions of herself, something like that. I might be quoting that wrong. So she reads, some parts of it, and then she says that she loves that she's still shady and that, Lord, don't take the shadiness away from her. But then she does the shady binder where she gives everyone a binder and they have to write about themselves as the cast members. So this is more directed to the cast because there are other people there that are in the audience in terms of coming to her sip and read, but this part right here is obviously for make this part a little bit more interesting. Okay, so then they do the shady binder. Now Angel's questioning why Ashley's coming because I guess in one of the shady binders, Ashley had said something really bad about Angel, said that she's a catfish and that she's dishonest. And what Angel does is actually rip that up and rips it out of the binder and kind of takes it away. And they're like, "Oh, you took it out of the binder? Like you ripped it out?" She's like, "Yeah, because I'm not going to receive this. Like I'm not even gonna entertain this because this is wrong. And if you think this about me, that I'm a liar and that I'm a catfish, like why are you even coming to my house?" And then Gizelle pops in, Gizelle, Gizelle, saying that, "Look, this is my bestie. This is my bestie." Okay, Gizelle, but since when did it actually been your bestie? Since you had no other alliances on the show. Anyways, that's her bestie, and if Ashley doesn't go, then she won't go. Okay, bye. We don't need Gizelle or Ashley at the party, okay, Angel? Bye. I'm not too sure why they keep pressing that Angel got evicted. She's literally sitting there telling them it wasn't an eviction. I don't know what else they need from her. It's just because they have, which we later find out, a piece of information that they have that they think is so much more powerful than what the actual source is telling them. Okay, so next time something comes up and they ask them, they're just not going to believe them. They're just going to continue believing what they want to believe because apparently this is the motto for Ashley and Gizelle, And when it comes to Ashley and Gizelle, first of all, Gizelle says nothing about her life. Her entire storyline is other people's storylines, okay? Ashley's entire storyline is nothing. It's boring, to be honest. She's dating guys and it was fun when Michael was around, but Ashley's complete storyline is completely boring. Wendy was too until this whole thing came up where she's in the press now because of her insurance fraud, okay? So these ladies, the three miserable trio, have nothing going on. Nothing. Nothing that they say or do can be entertaining. Absolutely nothing. Okay? Even when they want to do Giselle's Unreasonably Shady podcast, it didn't happen. It did not happen because who didn't show up? Her podcast partner. Why? Because she wants nothing to do with the show. Because they have nothing. They're grasping at straws, these ladies, And it's just like, just give it up. Maybe it would actually work out better in your favor if you stop grasping at straws and you just let it play out. But Gizelle, just because she's heard it so many times to people that she's a force multiplier, as Carlos King says, she just wants to move the storyline along. And it's like, sometimes just let it happen organically. You don't always have to be the force behind it, just let it happen. Okay, you'll be queen bee. Don't worry, you're the oldest one on the show. You're not going anywhere. But like, just let things kind of play out as they should. Okay. Anyways, so Stacey calls Angel about the altitude difference. And you could see that, like, I don't even know why they included the scene in, but I can only say that it's because production was really going dirty on Angel by focusing on her contact photo, and it's appeared to be one of those catfishing photos. I'd be really interested to see how the behind the scenes of production works and how they actually try to steer the audience into a certain perception when it's not like that at all. Because you know that some people are going to believe exactly what they see on TV and not that it's cut or edited. And for the most part, I do believe that these are the real reactions, but how it's cut together and how some words are missing and like a whole section of a conversation is missing and just dives into another conversation can ultimately steer people in a direction that the production will want them to, when Wendy, anyways, with that being said, all the ladies now show up at Colorado. Okay, they all arrive. Angel takes Wendy and Stacey in her car, and then there's other SUVs for the other ladies. Wendy says that she doesn't understand why Angel is being so nice to her now. Well, Wendy, you were kind to her at the sip and read, and she felt seen finally. So why does it always have to be such shade? Like, why can't it just be like grateful? Like, you were nice to her, you wanted this to work out, and then now you're saying like, I don't get why she's being so nice to me. Like, she maybe appreciates it. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know why it was a point of conversation to bring up amongst even on camera. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, for someone that claims that she's so smart, she has all these degrees and she's a professor, Wendy honestly acts like the dumbest, to be honest. Like, so, I don't know. Like, it's like she wants to be like cute, ditzy, person that like doesn't really understand what's happening, but at the same time she wants to be the smart person that is like that understands everything that's happening around her. It's like you can't be both at the same time. You're either one or the other. Be the ditzy blonde that's like actually not blonde, or be the smart professor. Like pick one or the other, girl. Like it's just you're playing both sides of the fence here. And what she does depends who she's with. She plays both sides of the fence, and it just gets so annoying. I can't with Wendy. I haven't for a long time. None of this stuff that she's doing makes me like her anymore. Monique says that Angel reminds her of her past relationship. She's having to do everything all herself, and all that pressure is on her. And the husband not necessarily approving of all her endeavors, but still being there with quote-unquote supporting kind of ways. It does make me feel bad for Angel, not because I believe that that's happening in her relationship with Bobby. I don't think Bobby and Chris are similar at all. But I do think that Bobby would probably be like, why do you want to keep doing this, if that they're treating you like this? And when it comes to that part of her life that she really wants to kind of like conquer and like do good, like he won't really support it because he doesn't think it's right for her. So she's left dealing with all these things on her own. So for example, having to go back to the house at night. Yeah, she has to take care of the kids because Bobby doesn't approve of this. He's probably not going to, no, you stay with the girls, I'll deal with the kids. Have an attitude like that, Not on purpose. Like, he's not trying to, like, punish her, but he's just, like... And maybe it's his way of getting her out of those situations so it's not too big of a mess in the end, Whatever his reasoning is, you can tell that already, like, this show and the ladies have left a bad taste in his mouth where he doesn't trust that his wife is going to come back feeling whole after spending time with them. Like, there's always going to be something because it seems like every other time that she has, it has been something, right? Angel gets a separate accommodation for the ladies. That's not her actual home, and this is surprising for the ladies because they all actually want to stay at Angel's actual house. So I have two opinions about this. First of all, dude, she's married with 2 kids, like, and a husband. Like, what the frick? Like, it's kind of an invasion of their privacy, where the husband and the kids going to sleep. She can put them in an Airbnb, like. But also, part of me does agree with the part that she took some of the girls with her. Like, it might appear as if she's causing a split amongst the ladies, and that part I understand. When the girls kind of show concern, the other ladies show concern with this, like, I thought we were all supposed to get to know each other and hang out together, and like the best part of like a girls trip is when you're at night and you're like chatting and, you know, like right before bed in pajamas, and, you know, that's the best part. I get that, how they feel like, well, if you're not going to be here for that, how are we going to get closer? And then on top of that, you take two of the girls with you. I understand that. And I thought maybe, like, even my daughter said, well, then Angel should have just stayed with them. And that's true. 1000% I agree with that. But then part of me takes me back to that whole thing that, you know, Bobby's maybe not as supportive of it. So she does have to go back to the house and still parent until the next day, or even get things ready. Because they're hosting a whole, like, their Colorado kind of home is like their wellness kind of retreat type thing. So she has to get that all ready. So maybe there's just more to it. If that's the case, maybe not taking the other girls with her so it would look like she's trying to create a divide. So I do understand the other point of view of the ladies when it comes to this, although I don't think that was Angel's intention, you know? I don't think that she's watched the show and it has all this bad juju ready to happen to kind of divide and conquer all these ladies. I don't think it's like that at all. That's a little bit too aggressive for someone for their first season, to be honest. And back to Gizelle. Gizelle is just always ungrateful and she's always complaining. I just don't understand how she, like, navigates through life. Like, she's just never okay. Like, just, okay, let me just take it. Okay, cool, got it. She's always got to put in her last 2 cents. She's always got to be ungrateful and unhappy, and it just makes me feel so bad for her. Like, she really is miserable. Like, I've never seen a season or an episode where Gizelle is just kind of, like, grateful. She's always complaining about something. Whether it's someone or something that's happened, like, there's always a complaint. It's never gratitude. The episode ends with miserable Gizelle saying, okay, she did get evicted, because what happens is that Angel puts Gizelle with Ashley in a bedroom that's quite small. And if you actually watch the episode, you'll see that Wendy even got a big room. And even though it had bunk beds in it, they're like, well, how come Gizelle and Ashley didn't get that bigger room? And Wendy could have gotten the small room, but all three of them could have been in that downstairs room together. But because of that, miserable Gizelle gets pissed, and she's like, well, she did get evicted, even though she promised that she wouldn't bring up the eviction anymore. She's like, she did get evicted, and I have more information on that. And Angel hears that, and she's going down the stairs. She's like, we're going to shut this down once and for all, because what's not going to happen is that we're going to have this being talked about at my actual home. And see, that's why I understand why she doesn't want these people in her home, because it's a place it's her, like, sanctuary. She got to keep that energy safe in there. When you have people like Gizelle coming in with all these kind of accusations, okay, and just gossip, and bringing that energy into the home, it's going to ruin the energy of the place that she's holds so sacred for her and her husband and her kids, right? So she's having this conversation. She's like, we're not going to be talking about this in her home. And she doesn't want the ladies, and this is why she doesn't want the ladies in her home. So she says, we're going to talk about this once and for all, and the scene ends there. As if, like, next scene, when we start the scene or start the episode up, it's going to be her addressing this. This is going to go 2 ways. Either it's going to be really dramatic or not dramatic at all, because we know that the way that production works with this is they like to end it off on a high note. But then when it enters the scene on the next episode, it's, like, actually not as dramatic as you would think it was, you know? I don't know what Gizelle and Ashley could have, like, that could possibly make it look like she actually was evicted. But I don't think it was an eviction at all. I really don't. I think it's just that she booked it up to a certain time, and then she either forgot to extend it, or when it came up to that time, she was like, oh, shoot, like, we actually have to go. We actually can't. You know, sometimes I'm like that. Like, it's ADHD. Like, I just don't bother. I wait until last minute, but last minute is too late. But in a way, it kind of worked out, because now they can go to Colorado and do the Colorado thing in Colorado with her, like, make it like a cast trip. So I don't know why they're complaining so much. It looks like it's working out, you know. But I've yet to see what information they could own or possess that could really alter the way that we think of this as her being evicted, you know? Unless the Airbnb host comes and says, yeah, we have to kick them out. Like, eviction is because you've done something wrong. Like, you didn't pay, or mostly it's about not paying, you know? You haven't paid, or, like, you said that you were supposed to move out and you didn't. Like, yeah, I'm giving my 3 months notice, I'm going to be out by this time, and then that time comes around and you still haven't gone. Then they can take you to their tenancy branch or whatever laws they have in place to get you, like, get out of there faster. That's an eviction. it's usually like forcefully done by the landlord. And I don't think that she was overstaying her welcome. Like her husband is a big name. Like they own all these wellness centers. Why would she want to? And maybe I'm coming from a naive place. Maybe we end up seeing that it actually does happen that way. But from what I can see right now, like why would someone want to jeopardize all that just to stay in a place longer? It just makes no sense. So yeah, we have yet to see what goes on. But with that being said, that's it that we got for Real Housewives of Potomac, season 10, episode 13. Episode 14 will air on the weekend, so we'll get a little bit more info on that. What's going on, and I'm kind of excited to see how this wellness retreat in Colorado works out. Because this is the bread and butter of Angel and her husband's sort of like business that they have together. So I'm excited to see how they make it fun for the ladies. So with that being said, guys, that was Real Housewives of Potomac season 10, episode 12 and 13. I will be back with more recaps of more of our shows. Thanks for joining.